Welcome back to DAGryffyn Hobby. My name's Dave. It's time to do a little experiment with this copper clad aluminum wire. I recently decided to do my whole control center over, and that was inspired by the fact that I really needed to wire the layout. When I started, I went onto Amazon and I looked for inexpensive wire. Because wire's wire, right? What's it do? It carries electricity, carries the signal from one end to the other. It's wire. It's like a hose. It just flows, right? Right? I guess there's a pretty significant difference between copper clad aluminum and pure stranded copper wire. In this video, I had started out to test real world on my layout what would happen if I ran high amperage engines with this copper clad aluminum wire. I was expecting maybe the wire would get warm, but I figured it would work because, after all, it's wire. I can't say I got to the results I was looking for, but still I think I formed a pretty solid opinion of this copper-clad aluminum wire. It's time for another one of my not very scientific experiments. One of the concerns with the copper-clad aluminum wire, it doesn't handle current as well as pure copper. So what's that mean as far as the layout's concerned? Well, if it's grossly undersized and can't handle the amperage, is it going to melt or burn? Is it going to warm up? At what point would that happen? So what I have on the layout at the moment is two dual-motored post-war Lionel Trainmasters. They should pull a good amount of amperage. The cars I have are just a string of modern box cars, so I could certainly put on something that would draw more amperage, namely the 2500 series post-war passenger cars with their poorly rolling trucks and the incandescent light bulbs. But for the moment, I'm going to work with this because this is what's on the layout, and I really don't have anywhere to put all these cars. So I've got the two engines, a bunch of boxcars, and a lighted caboose. It's roughly 62 degrees in the room. Surface temperature of the layout's about 60, 61. Surface temperature of the engines is about 60 degrees. So I'm gonna try to run the engines, see if they warm up, see if the track warms up in the spots where I have the drops, see if I can get a temperature reading off the wire, specifically running from the ZW to the track. Hopefully not damage or burn anything up. The layout's on. Pay attention to the ammeter here. I've got it zeroed out. So let's give these babies power and see what kind of amperage they're drawing. It's up to 4 amps. They're not even going anywhere. 5 amps. 5.5 amps. The reading I'm getting off the wire directly from the ZW, 59 degrees. Engine's warmed up a little. Power wire coming off the ZW, just about 60. Something I did notice, and I'm really not sure why it's doing this, it's slowing down on the expansion, and then as soon as it hits the old part of the table, it picks up speed again. And I really don't know why, because everything is wired to the same distribution block. And I was having this problem initially when I started the expansion, but I figured it was because of the poor wiring that I had. So is this because of this copper clad wire that I'm using? It's not carrying the current well enough or something? Or do I have another issue going on here? Engines are warmed up to about 65. Main wire off the ZW is about 62.5. The ZW itself is about 65. And I'm discouraged by my power issue over the lift bridge. So I'm going to go take a look at that. Rear trainmaster is warming up to about 75. Front one about 71. The ZW is about 65. Wire is about 63. The track where the first drop is 63 degrees. But now I'm so distracted by the fact that I've got some sort of power issue over the lift bridge that I kind of don't want to do this right now. I may have found the limit of the wire, but I haven't proven that yet because I haven't bypassed the switch I'm using to cut the power when the bridge goes up. But I disconnected the feed from the distribution block that goes to the track before the bridge and the track on the bridge, and I ran a wire straight from the distribution block to the track. So that wire is a lot shorter than the one that's run under the layout, and that fixed the issue. So either the wire from the distribution block all the way around the outside of the room back to this point is too long for the wire itself. Maybe it needs a larger wire or just a pure copper better wire. So I've got some more experimenting to do, but as of the moment, it's down to either the length of the run of the wire that I used to get to this point in the layout, or the switch I'm using to cut the power when the bridge goes up. The wire that I temporarily ran from the distribution block to the track seemed to fix the issue. So I removed that wire, reconnected the ground from the cheaper wire that I used, and used a 12 gauge pure copper stranded wire to feed power from the distribution block to the switch that cuts the power when the bridge is up. And it fixed the issue. And this is a very long piece of wire, so it's not the length. It's the quality of the wire. It seems that I have found the defect in the copper clad aluminum wire. It's not carrying all the current for the long distance of the wire that I'm using. So if this was a small layout, maybe it would be fine. But considering that this wire runs halfway around the room, I guess I need a better wire. The blue lines on the tabletop there denote where the blocks are separated. So to the right of that line is wired with the copper clad aluminum wire that runs around the entire length of the room. To the left of that is the portion of track that I have temporarily wired with a much better pure copper wire. As the train runs around this outer curve and gets closer and closer to this spot where the blue line is, it gets slower and slower. And now once it hits the track to the left of that line, it picks up speed again. So that right there is proving pretty concretely that this copper clad aluminum wire, as people have told me, is junk. Maybe it's good for accessories or other uses, but to carry the current to run 2 post-war trainmasters, it can't get the job done. So what does that mean for me? Well, that means all this wire that is red and black, which is the copper clad aluminum wire, is going to be coming out. I will get a nice 500-foot spool of some good quality pure copper wire, which I should have done in the beginning, but hey, you learn. And I will completely rewire the layout again. At least this time I have a better idea of what I'm doing. Honestly, when I started this, I was unaware of the whole copper-clad aluminum wire versus pure stranded copper wire. That was a new one to me. All I saw was that this wire was less expensive, and I figured, what's the big deal? Let me try it out. Well, this is the big deal. It has wasted time and money because the wire is not getting the job done. On a small layout, maybe it'd be fine. I've got a whole bunch of it now, so I'll use it for powering LED lights and stuff like that. Things that aren't as critical as power delivery to the track. Also, I could use it on a smaller layout, or if I make a Z-scale or an N-scale layout, I could use it there. But for this layout, for the size of it, and for the fact that I may be running double-headed post-war engines with 4 motors, I need better wire. This is what people told me. I didn't quite understand it. I understand it now. Sometimes we just have to learn things the hard way. And that's what I've done here. So luckily, I guess, this copper-clad aluminum wire didn't cost that much. So it's not a whole lot of wasted money. So I'm not out that much. And I don't mind the time because it's a lesson learned. I'll have to get myself a good quality wire on a large spool, hopefully red and black, because I like the 2 colors. It's a lot easier to tell if I got the power and the ground in the right places. So I'll have to take a look around and see what wire I find that fits my criteria. From what I can tell, from just a little bit of research I did earlier today, a 500-foot spool of 16 gauge wire, 16-2, so 2 conductors, would be close to $200, which is okay because it's an extremely important part of the layout. So I don't know if the wire would heat up and melt, or heat up and cause corrosion, or anything like that, but at this point, considering that it's causing me this issue, I'm not going to bother keeping it connected long enough to find out. I'm glad I paused in wiring before I started running wires for the inner loop, because that would have really been a pain in the butt. So now I start over with a better wire, and hopefully that fixes the power delivery issue that I'm having at the furthest extents of the layout. And if you feel like saying I told you so in the comments, feel free, go right ahead. Sometimes I just like to learn the hard way myself. It's so hard to tell sometimes if the information you're getting is scientifically accurately proven or just opinion. And at this point, I consider this proven, at least for myself. The copper-clad aluminum wire just isn't carrying the current that I need to power the trains. Maybe if I'd stepped up to a 10-gauge copper-clad aluminum wire, that would have done the trick, but then that defeats the cost savings, and why not just use a better wire? So let my waste of time and money be a lesson for you as well. When it comes to wiring your layout, use the pure stranded copper wire, not the copper-clad aluminum. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on DAGryffyn Hobby.